4B levels. System, it's rare for you to be generous. Luo Tang scratched his head, looked at the tourists on the tourist list, and couldn't help muttering. The system of Wanji Travel Agency refreshes the B, C, and D level tourists. All of them are 1 to 5 people at random. A total of 4 people. This refresh, the gold content is higher than last time. It can be said that it is only higher than lower. He now has 72.5% experience, only 3 B levels can be upgraded. Refreshing 4 at a time already gave him a lot of room for choice. Well, the purpose of travel doesn't seem to be very difficult. Luo Tang muttered to himself. Orumite, from the world of My Hero Academia, the #1 hero in the leaderboard. Because he has been fighting on the front line for a long time, his body has already been overwhelmed, and he wants to find a successor. The Green Valley Izuku children's shoes in the original work must be able to meet its requirements. What Luo Tang has to do is to show the other party a simplified version of the movie. If it is 0, the other party's travel purpose is even simpler, hungry. As an orthodox magician, even the most powerful magician in the world of magic books from scratch. This kind of useless travel purpose, probably only 0 will have. However, the more unpromising, for him, the same is done. As for the owner of Baoqingfang, this double-faced fox demon just wants to improve the method of refining treasures. Does Luo Tang still lack the method of refining treasures? Kamar Taj's magic weapon, Xingyu's magic dress and treasure, Asgard's artifact, Lord Void's refining technique. To put it bluntly, this kind of task can be completed by sprinkling water. The last Rosewall L. Mazes. Luo Tang glanced twice and stopped paying attention. For him, there are currently 2 ways to resurrect a person. The first is undead magic, and the second is to go back in time to save the other party when they were alive. The person Rosewall L. Metzes wants to resurrect as Echidna, the Witch of Lust. Characters from 400 years ago. Let Luo Tang go back 400 years. Not to mention that time gem can't hold it. Anyway, he couldn't stand it. That kind of consumption is not as simple as 1 + 1. Just like a piece of white paper is constantly folded in half, the longer the backtracking time, the consumption will increase exponentially. 400 years is already an astronomical figure. As for resurrecting the opponent with undead magic, the ghost knows whether the other party can accept it, and even if the other party accepts it. Sorry, he can't take it. System, why the hell can't you honestly brush up on Amelia, Ramram? Luo Tang groaned. For the Duke of Rosewall's mansion, no matter if Ramram or Amelia is refreshed, he will definitely take the order immediately. Today, travel agencies are increasingly connected to the world. There are not many reliable Kanban girls. How much do you lose when you come to the guests? Host. Guest Mew once refreshed once. Nima, I was still Mengxin at that time. Do Mengxin understand? Restoring the unicorn is impossible at that time, okay? Luo Tang twitched his cheeks, angrily attacking the system. He had been fascinated for a long time when he refreshed Ram. It's just that his strength was limited at that time, and he really couldn't complete Ram's travel purpose. Shaking his head slightly, Luo Tang threw his wild thoughts out of his mind, and directly accepted the travel orders of Olumite, Y, and Baoking Fangzhu. There were familiar ripples on the gate of the travel agency. Holding a convenience bag in his hand, the muscular Olumite walked in through the gate. President Luo Tang, this is our first meeting, I am Olumite. Hello, welcome here. A smile appeared on Luo Tang's face. He actually admires people like Olumite. After all, dragging a body riddled with wounds and rushing to the front line of maintaining the stability of the world is really not something ordinary people can do. President Luo Tang, can you help me find a successor? Definitely, but maybe you'll have to wait a little bit, there are 2 guests coming. Luo Tang invited Olumite to sit down, shrugged and said something. No problem. Also, you don't have to keep it like this all the time. I may know your physical condition better than you yourself. Is that so? Oramat was silent for a while. Looking at Luo Tang's kind smile, he let go of his momentum. In the lingering mist, the muscular and burly figure shrank rapidly, becoming skinny and shriveled. The dying appearance made it hard to imagine that the person in front of him was the same person as Olumite just now. Excuse me, President Luo Tang. By the way, I can eat something. Olumite raised the convenience bag in Yang's hand. Definitely can. Luo Tang nodded. Amidst the ripples at the gate of the travel agency, a petite figure quietly walked in. Sniff the air with the tip of your nose. The eyes of this petite figure lit up, and they threw themselves directly at Luo Tang. Extremely pure spirit. It's unbelievably powerful. Luo Tang's cheeks twitched slightly, and he supported Master Baoking with both hands. Although he has practiced for thousands of years, Bao King Fangzhu, who is a double-faced fox demon, looks less than 10 years old. The big eyes are painted with thick eyeshadow, and the petite figure not only does not make its charm fade away, but also has a different kind of temptation. Bare feet, stepping on the waistband of Luo Tang's trousers. The owner of Bao Qingfang seemed to be smelling a peerless delicacy, and kept breathing hot air on his neck. The owner of Bao Qingfang is different from the Tushan fox demon. Tushan's tiger demons range from Honghong, Yaya, Rongrong, down to ordinary little foxes. All of them are reserved and introverted. Basically, there are very few fox demons who take the charming route. They dress conservatively, and the only things that are exposed are probably their calves and jade feet. Bao King Fangzhu is different, or in other words, her appearance is the appearance of most foxes in the world. Petite in appearance, but charming in every move. In such a weird posture, Luo Tang was even ashamed to grab him down. Ah, I smell the smell of a demon, and even the smell of hell. The owner of Bao Qingfang had an intoxicated expression on his face that didn't match his appearance at all. That girlish voice, which is as sweet as a silver bell, coupled with the tone of "at the moment," is simply killing me. Alumite was dumbfounded. He had to admit that the little girl in front of him didn't look like a normal person. So sloppy. The owner of Bao Qingfang completely ignored the expressions of the two, and a strange smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, and her face was turned 180 times. Kaka. Amidst the tooth-piercing turning sound, what appeared in front of Luo Tang turned into the face of a white fox. Being able to have a skin-to-skin relationship with the devil, I don't think you would mind letting me breathe a little of your energy. F*K. Luo Tang was taken aback by the huge fox head in front of him. Coupled with the other party's gloomy tone, he punched out subconsciously. Boom. The owner of Bao Qingfang flew out like an arrow, and hit the wall of the travel agency fiercely. The large-shaped body slipped softly onto the ground. Luo Tang's subconscious punch is quite powerful. After all, he is the existence of integrate angel gene, dragon gene, monster gene, and Saiyan gene. In terms of pure strength, he has long been able to punch mountains. Alumite's jaw almost fell to the ground. I don't know at all, should he stand up at this time? Protecting the weak is a hero's job, but the little girl in front of me is not human no matter how you look at it. Ahem. How can the president be willing to treat the servant like this? Master Baoking held his stomach with one hand. That punch just now almost dislocated her internal organs. Among the monster clan, the fox clan is not a powerful monster. I'm sorry, it was a bit heavy just now. The corners of Luo Tang's eyes twitched, and he forced a smile. To be honest, he has seen quite a few horror scenes, and it is rare for him to lose his composure. But the scene just now really scared him a bit. Can you imagine that just a second ago, a petite and lovely girl was still acting tenderly to you? In the next second, does it feel like the little girl will become an old fox? If this F*Ker were to be put in her previous life, it would be no less frightening than when watching a love action movie in a certain country, a Sadako crawled out of the TV. Not everyone has the courage to go up to ghosts. Especially, when you know that this ghost can suck you dry. What a stinky man who doesn't understand pity and pity. Although the owner of Bao King Fang was complaining, his coquettish tone still made people feel pity. Seeing that Luo Tang has no intention of coming to help her at all. The owner of Bao King Fang waited for a long while before struggling to get up from the ground. You sit down first, we will solve your problem later, there is still a tourist. Luo Tang touched the tip of his nose, and abruptly changed the subject. What the hell? In that case, if he didn't miss and directly killed the opponent, that's already quite sympathetic, okay. Master President, can't you really give this slave a sip? The owner of Bao Qingfang sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, and took out a bronze-colored luxurious cigarette rod from behind his backhand. The rod is nearly 80 centimeters long, with a gold pipe and a jasper mouthpiece. The gold-plated inscriptions on it have a hint of evil spirit, and it is not an ordinary household item at first glance. Hee. Dreaming. Luo Tang said with a half-smile. MMP. Are you a tourist who says you want to attract people's energy once you come up? What a weird request. If he had known earlier, he might as well have received Rosewall L. Mazes. Maybe if he uses Mind Gem's ability to brainwash, the other party can also use it for him? The host is requested to receive tourists in a formal way to gain the favorability of tourists. The system of Wanji travel agency made a sudden sound. Cut. That's not okay. Luo Tang curled his lips unhappily, remembering the system's original protection rule, and continued to ask. In other words, she can't suck my energy. Under the travel agency rule, tourists cannot harm the host, nor can they absorb the energy of the host without the host's will. Then can I hurt her? Luo Tang raised his eyebrows. He always felt that Master Baoking was looking at him, as if he was looking at the most delicious food. It is not recommended that hosts harm tourists, get along with each other friendly, gain higher favorability, and obtain long-term benefits. That's fine. Luo Tang muttered, interrupting the system directly. The ripples on the gate of the travel agency widened again. A silver-haired girl wearing a gray cloak and lying on the ground climbed into the gate with difficulty. I need a bowl of hot soup. Ling raised his right hand, his small face was full of hope, and he looked up at Luo Tang standing in the hall. Luo Tang's cheeks twitched, and the zero in front of his eyes completely broke through all his imagination of the creator and writer of magic. It is clear that there is surging magic power in his body, but this expression of starving to death is gross. And, it's crawling in. He has seen those who walk through the door with dragons and tigers, those who come timidly, and those who cannot be squeezed in. I've even seen people sticking out their heads and then retracting them. This is the first time I've seen someone climb in. Alumite looked at the sandwich in his hand, unable to finish his mouth for a long time. Living in a world full of personality, he has seen all kinds of refugees. But with the abundance of supplies in modern society, he has never seen anyone who can't eat enough. The owner of Baoking Workshop held the cigarette rod in one hand and his cheek in the other. Narrow winking eyes stared at Zero lying on the ground. The power in this girl even made her feel a little dangerous. But how could such a person be so hungry? Simply unimaginable. There is no response. Is it true that I am so hungry that I have hallucinations? Lie on the ground in a daze, like a caterpillar, turned around with difficulty, and crawled towards the gate of the travel agency. I rely on. Surprised, Luo Tang strode up and grabbed Ling's feet. Finally, a tourist who is easy to satisfy has come. If he goes back, doesn't it mean that he wants to receive Rosewall? How can that work? As instant noodles okay? Luo Tang grabbed Zero to prevent him from returning to the original world, and stared directly at Olumite's convenience bag. He saw it just now, this symbol of peace bought 2 packs of instant noodles. My generation is not an illusion. Zero turned his head blankly, with an expression of extreme hunger in his eyes. I don't know what instant noodles are, but as long as they are edible, they are fine. Olumite, borrow some instant noodles. President Luo Tang doesn't need to mind. Just as Olumite nodded, Luo Tang raised his finger slightly, and used dark energy to take the instant noodles into his hand. In the room on the first floor of the travel agency, there were 2 sounds of gusts of wind flying by. The bowls and chopsticks flew out of the kitchen quickly and landed on the coffee table. The instant noodles were also disassembled and put into bowls. Luo Tang snapped his fingers with his left hand. With the combination of fire magic and water magic, hot boiling water flowed into the bowl. A tempting aroma of instant noodles began to spread, making Ling's eyes shine like stars. Olumite had an uneasy expression on his face. It was just soaking noodles, why did he feel a strong breath of pretend? Moreover, the characteristics revealed by Luo Tang just now are too many and too complicated. Isn't the president of this travel agency really simple? The 5-element technique and volley shooting are actually used by you like this. If those old guys know about it, I'm afraid they have to talk to you. The double-faced fox monster Baoking Fangzhu puffed out the smoke, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Although she said she was light on the surface, she had never achieved such a lightweight magic attainment after thousands of years of practice. Are you sure they can beat me? Luo Tang raised his eyebrows and said something indifferently. He can use his magic however he wants, who dares to beat more? It smells so good. Zero's little nose twitched slightly, and he wanted to climb to the coffee table with all his hands and feet. She was just caught by Luo Tang with 1 foot, so she could only flap around in vain. Don't worry, there are plenty of delicious food. Luo Tang pulled Zero up from the ground and placed it directly on the sofa. Brushing the noodle bowl with one hand, under the magic of the ice system, the temperature of the originally high-temperature instant noodles dropped rapidly. After handing over the fork and bowl to Ling, who had already fainted from hunger, ate everything up and down. But after finishing eating, Ling took a sip, but looked at another pack of instant noodles. If you are still hungry, please eat. Olumite's personality is quite good, he took the initiative to take out the remaining bag of instant noodles and handed it to Chen. My generation will remember your kindness. Ling looked like a little adult, recalling Luo Tang's actions just now, the surging magic power in her hands surged out quickly. The noodles and seasoning packets are put into the bowl. Fire magic on the left and water magic on the right, boiling hot water slowly flowed into the bowl. Olumite looked at the little Zero in front of him, and he did something similar to Luo Tang, and he was in a bad mood. As for the double-faced fox monster Baoking Fangzhu, there was a bit of strangeness in his eyes. The look of great interest seemed to have found a new toy. Eat less. I ordered lunch for you guys, and I'll be here in about 10 minutes. Luo Tang looked at Ling, who was making his move to the second bowl of instant noodles, and said helplessly. Although people are extremely hungry, it is true that the instant noodles are delicious. But after you finish eating one bag, you need another bag. Make the instant noodles look like a peerless delicacy. Is it really good? Lunch. Yoho, your heart is as good as your appearance, holy and kind. Ling suddenly raised his head, glanced at Luo Tang with joy, turned his head and quickly finished a bowl of instant noodles. That appearance is clearly saying that if you finish eating early, you can eat more later. Holy and kind? Why didn't the servants see it? The owner of Baoking Workshop crossed Erlang's legs and asked the dirty Ling. Using unknown magic power to hide your true appearance, the fox and angel with golden wings did not hide. Zero glanced at Baoking Fangzhu and Luo Tang, and finally looked at Olumite. Can you see into the real body's ability? Luo Tang raised his eyebrows, thinking that in the original book, it seemed that Ling could see the human soul in the mercenary's body at a glance. It's really a straightforward statement. The slave family is a demon, a fox demon. The owner of Baoking Fang raised his legs and his bare jade feet lightly nodded in the air, with a charming smile on the corner of his mouth. Olumite looked at Zero, then at Baoking Fangzhu, and finally at Luo Tang. Are golden wings weird? Luo Tang shrugged and said something indifferent. He has angel genes, but in essence, he is also a human being. It's just a little stronger than ordinary people. Boom boom boom, Mr. Luo, the meal you asked for has been delivered. There was a knock on the door of the travel agency. Luo Tang turned and opened the door, and brought in 2 oversized convenience bags. The tip of Baoking Fangzhu's nose moved slightly, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. The corners of Zero's mouth were even more unbelievably drooling. Rabbits, pigeons. President Luo Tang has a lot of experience on how to entertain fox demons. Bao Qingfang's main face was somewhat frivolous and seductive. It's okay, I've seen a lot. Luo Tang answered casually, raised his hand and tossed it, and under the surge of dark energy, all the dishes were placed on the coffee table. Thank you, President Luo Tang, for your hospitality. Olumite saluted rigorously, but he didn't expect that the lunch that he planned to make at random would turn out to be so rich. You're welcome, everyone, please. Luo Tang raised his hand to invite. As the host, he was the first to start. The owner of Bao Qingfang and Ling, who couldn't wait for a long time, began to feast on it. Whether it is vegetables or meat, Zero refuses to come, and he has a special liking for the pot of soup in the middle of the table. The owner of Bao Qingfang is particularly fond of poultry and rabbit meat, and fully reveals the nature of the fox demon. Oramat was obviously also pleased with the taste of the meal. Looking at Luo Tang, who stopped moving his chopsticks after 2 mouthfuls, he asked. Shouldn't you eat more? If young people don't eat more, they won't be able to maintain a strong body. Well, I no longer need food to maintain my body's needs. Luo Tang shrugged and answered. Dark energy has made his body break away from the ordinary way of energy intake. Even if you don't eat, there is no problem. Moreover, although the food cooked by Stark Group chefs is delicious, it lacks the taste of home after all. Bigu? President Luo Tang is really powerful. The owner of Bao Qingfang frowned frivolously, and a ray of light flashed in his eyes. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Luo Tang feels that this restless fox demon wants to suck his energy more and more. So that's how it is. You have lost your expectation of good things. Zero swallowed the food and made a vague sound. Luo Tang's cheeks twitched slightly. Beautiful things. Are you sure you didn't mean food? Moreover, a great god-level figure who sucks the wind and drinks the dew will be sympathized with because he doesn't need to eat in the future. Should he talk about the world of foodies? Does he really not understand? Well. Olumite, the purpose of your trip is actually very simple. Luo Tang changed the subject abruptly. After all, it's really weird to be sympathized with in this way. President Luo Tang, please. Olumite's stooped body trembled slightly, and a trace of expectation flashed in his eyes. Don't be too polite. Luo Tang's mouth curled into a smile. With a wave of the hand, the virtual projection light curtain opened in the open space not far from the coffee table. My Hero Academia played quickly after removing the op. This is something that has never happened before, right? Olumite looked at the scene where he met with Izuku Midoriya, with a wonderful expression. Prophecy? Those old antiques in the mountains may not be able to predict as accurately as President Luo Tang. Master Baoking put down his bowl and chopsticks, and took a deep breath of smoke. Although he didn't express much emotion, his mind was obviously attracted by the picture in front of the coffee table. A long-term prophecy requires the preparation of a large number of magic rituals. If it is so accurate, the preparation time may take more than a year, or even longer. Zero also glanced at the projection screen in the hall. It's just that he didn't intend to stop eating at all. There seemed to be a dimensional bag in his stomach. Hearing what the two said, Olumide couldn't help but dignify his expression, and he also raised a level of importance to this scene. When he saw that he handed one for all to Izuku LVGU, his eyes revealed a look of relief. Some people are born to be heroes. Although Izuku LVGU has various problems, there is no doubt that the other party is very suitable to inherit one for all. Ding, tourist Oromat. The purpose of travel is achieved. You can return to the original world at any time, or wait for the expiration of 1 month to return to the original world. Ding. Complete the tourist reception. The host can choose any ability, bloodline, and item from Orumite. The system prompt sounded. A smile appeared on Luo Tang's face. It is so simple to complete the reception of tourists, which is really rare and easy. The last time the tourist reception was completed so quickly, it should be that old bone. I don't know how Albedo is preparing now. Boom boom boom. Teacher, here I come. There was a knock on the door of the travel agency. Before Luo Tang could respond, Thor pushed the door and entered with a large group of people. Does the tutor have any guests? Hello, my name is Thor. Thor ignored the white eyes of his tutor, and greeted several people seriously. Although Baoking Fangzhu and Zero seemed to be extremely petite. But after he suffered a loss, he no longer dared to underestimate everyone around his tutor. Mr. Luo, good afternoon, everyone. Captain America, Hawkeye, Banner, Tony and others all also greeted each other. Sniff, sniff. The owner of Baoqingfang raised his nose and curled up on the sofa, appraising the Avengers in front of him with great interest. 1500-year-old man, nearly 100-year-old virgin, playboy who indulges in private life. A weird combination. The breath of magic. Was it given by someone else? Zero glanced at Natasha Romanoff, shook his head, and continued eating the dishes on the table. In just 2 sentences, the master of Baoqingfang and Zhang made the Avengers people's old story all over again. 1500 years old, isn't it very old? Thor looked suspicious of life. What a disgrace. Captain America Steve covered his face with one hand, facing the eyes of his teammates. Ahem, I have reformed myself for a long time. Tony looked like a fool. Having personally seen the magnificence of the world, he is no longer as indulgent as before. Come here. What's the matter? Luo Tang half leaned on the sofa, unconsciously missing Captain Marvel in his heart. In contrast, Captain Marvel can at least wipe the table and sweep the floor in normal times. What about these people? Except when fighting in groups, it is completely useless at other times, okay. Tony Stark is barely a little bit, the chef of his family cooks at a good speed. Teacher, we want to further improve our strength. Those who want to invade us are too many and too strong. The last battle did not rely on our own strength. Thor spoke bluntly. Let me see. Luo Tang stroked his chin. The crisis in the 9 realms has been basically settled. According to the timeline, the Dark Elves will wake up soon and come to capture TIE particles. Moreover, Hydra has jumped so much recently, and the opening of the Age of Heroes seems to have given them an opportunity. It seems that it is time for someone to deal with it. After finishing these, the plot of Guardians of Galaxy should also start soon. The Power Gem, Luo Tang is sure to get it. Ever heard of Hydra? After Luo Tang stroked the timeline in his mind, he asked a few people. A group of guys trying to rule the Earth. Captain America Steve nodded, with a serious look in his eyes. Hearing the words, the others also stood up straight. The big job they have been looking forward to is coming. They are working on a plan recently, which is a bit dangerous. I will give you the information, so you go and deal with them. After that, you go to the Dark Elves. I feel that they are about to wake up. Luo Tang snapped his fingers, and a stack of documents fell directly into the arms of Captain America Steve. The people of Avengers swarmed around the files. It was Thor, who looked preoccupied. Although he didn't know the details of the Dark Elves, he had heard of this name more or less. That was the family that almost plunged the world into eternal darkness a long time ago. Go ahead. After finishing these 2 things, there is still a really big thing for you. Luo Tang waved his hands, looking like he was chasing people away. Guaranteed to complete the mission, the members of Avengers responded, come and go quickly. The way Olumite looked at Luo Tang changed a bit. After everyone left, he asked, President Luo Tang, Do you shoulder the responsibility of protecting this world? Well, it's where I live after all. Luo Tang nodded and admitted without any hesitation. Wouldn't it be silly not to admit this opportunity to increase favorability? Sure enough. No matter where you are, there are a group of righteous partners. President Luo Tang, I am leaving. If there is a chance, I will visit you again next time. Olumite laughed boldly, and couldn't help being close to each other in his words. On the gate of the travel agency, water rippled, and he waved his hand to bid farewell to everyone. What you just said is half true and half false. Is my guess right? The owner of Bao Qingfang exhaled smoke, with a provocative expression on his small cheeks. Come, let's discuss. As a fox demon, why are you so uncute? Luo Tang said angrily, with an expression of trying to pinch Bao Qingfang's. It's not cute, is that attractive? The owner of Bao Qingfang didn't hide or dodge, and even looked like he wanted to cater to him actively. Forget it. Sorry for a. Luo Tang pouted and sat back on the sofa. That's right. Young master, you dislike my figure, isn't it plump enough? The owner of Bao Qingfang brushed the place where Luo Tang's eyes stopped just now with one hand, and put on a weeping expression on his face. Ling patted his chest in a daze. She seemed to be about the same size as Bao Qingfang's. Luo Tang rolled his eyes angrily. Master Bao Qingfang could tell whether his words were sincere, and he could also see whether the other party's expression was fake or not. The fox demon in front of me is not as silly and sweet as Yaya. Its character, it is not too much to say that it can eat people without spit out bones. President Luo, don't look at my family like that, my family is a serious businessman. The owner of Bao Qingfang winked like silk, and curled up on the sofa with his legs together. Let's discuss the purpose of your trip. Okay, but I want to know what that quill paid for. Okay. The prosperity of the world is all for profit. All the hustle and bustle of the world is for profit. I don't believe that President Luo will be such a bad person. Luo Tang slightly raised his eyebrows at the words of Bao Qingfang's, secretly thinking in his heart that he is indeed a 1,000-year-old demon. He received so many people in the past, only the little doctor had thought about this problem. The rest of the people are all focused on completing the purpose of the trip, and almost never think about what they will pay. When doing business, you always have to look at the pros and cons. If President Luo doesn't say it clearly, I'm afraid the slave family will not dare to do business with the president. Actually, it's nothing. After completing your travel purpose, I can copy any ability or item on your body at will. If you don't complete it, you basically have nothing. Luo Tang told the truth. This kind of thing is nothing to be ashamed of. A magic contract? When you come here, you have already made a contract. Ling opened her mouth abruptly, blinked her eyes, and looked at her hands. The only thing of value in her is probably magic. It's fair. Improving the art of refining treasures is indeed a big deal for the slave family. Master Baoking pondered for a while, then nodded slightly. If it's just copying, it won't have a big impact on her, and what she got is exactly what she needs. Okay, let's take a look at these things first. When Luo Tang waved his hand, the virtual projection screen reappeared. On it is the method of refining swords in Kong Kong swordsmanship and some methods of making magic weapons of Kamar Taj. No hurry, I still want to ask President Luo, what will I pay if I take a breath of President Luo's energy? The owner of Bao Qingfang looked at Luo Tang with scorching eyes, never forgetting his spirit. In the world of White Snake, the method of refining treasures needs to be supported by a strong spirit, in order to refine magical treasures. And with Luo Tang's exuberant spirit, which is as hot as a scorching sun, he will definitely be able to refine a peerless magic weapon. No negotiation. Luo Tang gave Bao Qingfang's a supercilious look again. Nima. If you don't suck him up, this vixen will not be reconciled. Everything has a price, so why should President Luo be ashamed? The owner of Bao Qingfang laughed lightly, and after he finished speaking, he crossed his jade legs, turned sideways, and looked at the text on the virtual screen. Are you full? Luo Tang turned his head to 0. As long as the 3 tourists are settled, the system of Wanji travel agency will be upgraded, and he is full of energy now. When you are full, the purpose of our trip is to no longer be hungry, but we will not choose to be like you and give up our expectations for beautiful things. 0 is quite smart. Luo Tang just said the beginning, so he knows what to say. For her, the expectation of food and the satisfaction after eating food are very happy things. Life would be too bad without both. I want someone who can cook. Luo Tang rubbed his chin, thinking about the way to accomplish the other party's travel purpose. Ordinary cooks can't handle the magic book world starting from scratch, and they need to GG every minute. Moreover, the system will not allow the other party to take the person away directly. It is possible to sign a soul-body subsidiary contract and the like. But what happened to Artoria last time? It was pure luck. If you really want to look for a powerful soul body, it's not much different from looking for a needle in a haystack. So, the only solution left is robots. If you want a mechanical servant, what do you want the other party to be like? Luo Tang asked. What is a machine? It's similar to a magic puppet, it doesn't have real life, but it can do some things you order. Big, mighty, kooky, furry, Zero thought for a while and made her request. Luo Tang has black lines all over his head. He is big, strong, and can cook. He can understand. What the hell is furry? Do you want a big plush toy? Also, if possible, we hope to have holy wings like you. Zero added a bit, and looked at Luo Tang with a strong wish for. Luo Tang made up his mind. A big, fluffy guy with a pair of golden wings? Damn. I can't bear to look straight at it. Even the servants think that your request is a bit scary. The owner of Baoqingfang flipped through the virtual projection and said something. Is it scary? Rin frowned, a little puzzled in his eyes. Okay, I probably understand. Luo Tang nodded, shaking off the random thoughts in his mind. Originally, the requirements of being tall, strong, able to cook, and furry can be fulfilled on the earth. But with wings like his, I'm afraid I have to go to Nidaway. Luo Tang's wings contain powerful dark energy. Ordinary materials cannot carry this kind of energy at all, and I am afraid that only a few metals such as Asgard metal Ulu and vibranium can. With Ulu and vibranium, ordinary electronic components cannot be used. Can only use secret magic, magic engraving, and Asgard technology, and then carry the technology of angel civilization. The intelligent robot that can be made easily has directly become an artifact comparable to the destroyer. Although he could refuse Zero's request, originally he planned to go to Dawei during this period of time. Why not take this opportunity to do what he wants to do? Come on, let's go out. Luo Tang waved to Zero Zhao, and opened a occult magic circle to Wakanda. Zero nodded, stood up from the sofa, and followed behind him with bare feet. I'm going to refine the weapon, do you want to see it? Luo Tang turned his head to look at Master Baoqing, who was still lying on the sofa. To be honest, he was really worried about leaving the other party alone in the travel agency. In case the travel agency comes to a guest unexpectedly. God knows if when he comes back, the other party will have already sucked him into AF*K. Having the opportunity to observe President Luo's craftsmanship, the family is deeply honored. The owner of Baoqingfang jumped up from the sofa, holding the cigarette rod in one hand, and also followed. Luo Tang took the two of them and went directly to Wakanda. After getting some vibranium and some special meltable molecular stuff from there, hitched a ride with Bifrost and headed straight to Nadawi. Nidavi's neutron star still exudes fiery high temperature, shining brightly in the dark universe. Seeing Luo Tang coming, many dwarfs knelt down on the ground. Compared with the first time, all dwarfs looked at him with more fanaticism and respect this time. When Luo Tang made weapons here, he taught them a lot. Get up. This time, you still need to use your core furnace. Luo Tang opened his mouth and said something, and dwarf just got up from the ground after more than 100 days. Mr. Luo is able to use Nidawi's stove, it is our dwarf's honor. The leader of the dwarf, I Kui, said respectfully, and turned to look at the many dwarfs. Guys, Teacher Luo wants to use the stove, so throw away all the work you're doing. Roar. The heroic dwarfs echoed in unison, and quickly shut down all the sub-furnaces. The half-built weapon was thrown aside by them. Compared to watching Luo Tang casting weapons, the weapons in their hands are nothing. Trouble. Luo Tang nodded and didn't say much after seeing this scene. The dwarfs are straightforward, so instead of being polite to them, it is better to give them some substantive guidance. The Heaven and Earth Oven is really an amazing method. The owner of Baoqingfang took a sip of his cigarette rod, and looked at the astonishingly hot core furnace, his eyes couldn't hide his shock. It's beyond the scope of magic. Zero also echoed in a daze, from just now to now, how many incomprehensible things has she seen? Teacher Luo's method is the third in the top 5. When I Kui talked about Luo Tang's methods, he looked very proud. He was recognized by the Master of the 9 Realms, and he has good dwarf skills. This kind of honor, not to mention Nidaway, even the entire universe, is only obtained by him. Number 1 in the 9 Realms. Master Baoqing nodded with a smile, turned around and followed behind Luo Tang. Zero glanced at those dwarfs whose eyes were full of longing, and also followed up. By the way, why don't they wear shoes? I Kui looked at the bare feet of Zero and Baoqing Fangzhu, and asked the old dwarf next to him in a low voice. Shesh. Maybe the master of the 9 realms has some special hobbies, so don't ask this again. The old dwarf looked nervous and whispered a little. Ikui nodded, picked up his big feet, and took off the shoes on his feet. A stench like a 1,000-year-old latrine rushed straight to the sky. I can't understand. Ikui muttered. Walking to Luo Tang on the side above the core furnace, a million alpacas galloped past in my heart. MMP. What do you mean he has special hobbies? What the hell? Moreover, the little girl's feet are round and smooth. Ikui, what can you compare to a rough guy? He is a treasure in the palm of his hand, but you are a biochemical weapon. There is no point in my heart. Luo Tang cursed fiercely for a while. After the temperature of the core furnace was heated to the extreme, he took a deep breath and directly started the engines of the heavens. Dark silver plus vibranium and ulu mixed with soluble molecular materials, the 3 metals quickly integrated together. The magic engraving and the magic circuit were completed in one go. Luo Tang spread his wings behind his back, and the golden wings appeared in front of everyone. He raised his hand and pulled out a feather, and under the engraving of many magic spells, the feather fell into the metal below. Zero stared intently at the golden wings behind Luo Tang. His eyes were filled with the urge to touch her. Seeing Luo Tang in angel state, the owner of Baoqingfang also had a bit of surprise in his eyes. After carefully looking at the golden wings, she couldn't help but shrink her pupils. Where are these wings? It is clearly some kind of terrifying energy that has been condensed to the extreme and completely materialized. Every feather that makes up the wings contains power comparable to a magic weapon, and there are thousands of such feathers. Luo Tang was unaware of the reactions of the 2 people behind him, focusing on the puppets in the core furnace. He's going to forge things, sort of like the destroyer of Odin's vault, but smarter. Almost almighty magic puppet. Not only can it fight, but it can also provide various effects such as heating and cooling, so cooking is no longer a problem. More than half an hour. After rewriting the real ability with the heaven system and covering it with a layer of mimic fur, this magic puppet was completely completed. Mr. Luo, is this a new type of destroyer? Ikui knelt on the ground excitedly. He could clearly feel the power of this set of puppets. Even the destroyer cannot be compared with it. Almost. Luo Tang scratched the tip of his nose and answered vaguely. If he told the truth, he was really afraid that Ikui would not be able to think about it, and he would jump into the neutron star directly. After all, with this technique, forge a high-level chef. He himself felt a little reckless. Zero, inject your magic power into it, and then give it a name. Luo Tang turned his head to look at Zero, whose eyes had turned into little stars. Name. Zero hugged the puppet that was still warm. The furry touch and the gentle feeling as if being hugged by someone put a happy smile on her little face. Slowly injecting magic power, watching the puppet's eyes gradually brighten, she said. Cock. Just call me Cock. Zero looked expectantly at the magic puppet. Cock is at your service. An electronic synthesis sound came from the puppet. After the slightly cold scale and the puppet are activated, the golden wings condensed by the magic circuit behind them made Zero's eyes even more pleasantly surprised. Ding, Tourist Zero. The purpose of the trip has been achieved. You can return to the original world at any time, or wait for the expiration of 1 month to return to the original world. Ding. After completing the tourist reception, the host can choose any ability, bloodline, and item. When the system prompt came, a smile appeared on Luo Tang's face. Easy to do, not bad. President, we will definitely remember your kindness. With a joyful expression on his face, Ling took the puppet's hand and bowed slightly to Luo Tang. It can be seen that she likes this puppet very much. It's an amazing approach. The owner of Baoqingfang showed a lot of interest in his eyes. In this moment alone, she has expressed similar emotions countless times. Our generation is about to return. If the president can come to our world, we will definitely entertain him with all our strength. Zero looked like a little adult, and expressed his gratitude seriously. Wait a minute, I have something for you. Luo Tang paused, turned around and returned to the neutron reactor. The time he spent with Zero was too short, and it was difficult for his favorability to reach 90 or more at one time. So he carried a little bit of private goods among the magic puppets. If it goes on for a long time, he believes that Zero must be affected by it. Now, if you can get more favorability points, just get more favorability points. After all, only with the foundation of goodwill and the subtle influence of the puppets can the greatest effect be achieved. Luo Tang threw 2 pieces of ulu, 1 piece of vibranium, and some soluble polymeric materials towards the neutron reactor. With 5 fingers spread out, he manipulates the system of the heavens, carefully controlling the heat. In a short while, he condensed 2 sets of clothes and 2 pairs of small shoes. Soluble polymer material mixed with vibranium is the close-fitting armor worn by Black Panther. He had learned this technique a long time ago, but he didn't like to use it very much. The 2 little girls are too petite, and the hard armor like Angel is not suitable for them. It's for you. Luo Tang raised his hand, and a set of black robes and knee-length black boots floated in front of Ling. Give it to our generation. What do we need to pay? No, there are not only transactions in this world, but also human feelings. Luo Tang smiled, turned around and brought another set of clothes and shoes, and threw them to Bao Qingfangzu who was at the side. The bright red robe has an elegant and noble atmosphere. The exquisite traditional embroidered shoes fully fit the temperament of Bao Qingfangzu. I'll give you something. Don't try to suck my energy, and promise me something later. Luo Tang said something to Bao Qingfangzu. When you come to the slave's house, does it become a deal? It seems that the slave's house does not meet your expectations. The owner of Bao Qingfang happily put away his clothes. After trying on the shoes, there was a look of satisfaction and surprise in his eyes. More or less with some special abilities, you experience it yourself. Luo Tang shrugged and said something to the 2 of them. After finishing the 2, he started to build weapons again. Earlier, he promised Liang Bing to give him a weapon. Calculating the time, more than half a month has passed, and it's time to cash in. And his own weapon, Bai Jian Kaiming, also needs to be processed a little bit. During this period of time, his understanding of weapon forging is much better than before. With the top-notch material of Bai Jian Kaiming, its power can be further improved. As for the black sword Yingou, the power of that sword can no longer be described simply by its power file size. With his current knowledge, he can't even understand the sword, let alone improve it. Ling looked at Bao Qingfangzu beside him. He had already put on his shoes, looked at the clothes in his hand, and was about to take off his clothes. An electronic blue light flashed in the eyes of the magic puppet. Raising both hands, a blue magic enchantment barrier enveloped Zero. Why do you want to do this? Zero's voice came from the barrier. According to the database records left by President Luo Tang, women should take good care of themselves and avoid being spied on by men or other creatures of unknown gender. The magic puppet explained sternly. Cock, don't let others see. Is it to protect yourself? It is recorded in the database that there are gender differences between men and women. The magic puppet explained Bala Bala again. Zero, who basically had no common sense in life, listened carefully to the words of the magic puppet while changing clothes. Horrible spirituality. The owner of Bao Qingfang squinted his eyes, took a puff of his cigarette, and stared at the puppet maintaining the magic barrier. It was beyond her expectations that a puppet without a sealed soul and without life breath actually had a sense of autonomy and could do so many things. Things like magic weapons are inherently powerful. Such magic weapons, even those 1,000-year-old monsters will covet them endlessly. Under the explanation of the puppet, Zero quickly put on his clothes. When he appeared in front of everyone again, he was already quite different from his sloppy little appearance just now. Although the dwarfs have different aesthetics from ordinary humans, when they saw the elf like Zero, they subconsciously took a second look. The young girl has a somewhat handsome and a somewhat delicate appearance. I am afraid that anyone who sees her will salivate. Zero glanced at Luo Tang, who was still forging weapons. Just as she was about to sit on the ground and wait, the puppet grabbed her waist and put her on her shoulders. According to the database records left by the president, it is best not to sit on the ground. President's database has so many records. Zero muttered, and the pleasure of being in a high place brought a slight smile on her face. A more mysterious man than expected. The embroidered shoes under Bao Qingfangzu's feet moved slightly, and the fluctuation of the spell could be clearly seen. Each of these exquisite clothes is extraordinary. Luo Tang didn't care about the reactions of the 2 behind him, and quickly forged a cold weapon. Half an hour later, a long sword with a strong aura and black flames on it rose from the core furnace of the neutron star. Putting away the long sword with a wave, he threw his armor and white sword Kaiming in again. The speed of improvement is obviously much faster than re-refining. In just over 10 minutes, he completed the upgrade of 2 things. Luo Tang let out a long sigh of relief, and glanced at the dwarfs who were either puzzled or delighted. With a wave of his hand, a casting method was engraved on the iron wall of the star ring. Ai Kui's excited beard trembled, and under the promotion of the old dwarf beside him, he knelt down on the ground hastily. Thank you. The master of the 9 realms. With a loud shout, all the dwarfs around came back to their senses. More than 300 dwarfs knelt down. Luo Tang smiled a little, and called Heimdall directly. After leaving Nadavi and returning to Earth, 0 chose to say goodbye. The purpose of her coming out was to track down No 13 Feet's whereabouts. The waiting just now was just to wait for Luo Tang to finish his work and say goodbye to him seriously. Ding, Tourist 0 has returned to the original world. The system prompt sounded. After seeing off the second tourist, Luo Tang looked at the last Baoking Fangzhu. Now the system experience value has reached 92.5%. As long as the owner of Baoqingfang is sent away, the Wanji travel agency system of LV3 will be directly promoted to LV4. He is looking forward to what kind of functions will appear after the upgrade. Haven't you finished it yet? Luo Tang stared at Baoking Fangzhu, who was nestled in the sofa with a contented face. This owner of Baoqingfang, who looks petite but is actually a 1,000-year-old fox, really feels that he can't stand it. Not so far. The owner of Baoqingfang tilted his head, resting his cheek in one hand, and stopped to read the method of refining treasures. He turned his head and asked Luo Tang. The slave family is very curious. What did the president ask the slave family to promise you just now? After returning to your world, I hope you can tell others about the existence of Wanji Travel Agency, where all problems can be solved. Is it that simple? Also, if one day, a white snake with 500 years of cultivation asks you to improve a jade hairpin magic weapon, I want you to come and make some changes on that magic weapon. 2 things, one of which is related to the reputation of Baoqingfang. Let the servants take a bite. The owner of Baoqingfang raised his chin slightly and looked at Luo Tang with winking eyes. Give me back my clothes and shoes, Luo Tang said angrily. Ye ba, don't worry about his energy will die. Why should the president be ashamed? The slave family agrees. The owner of Baoqingfang said something tenderly, then turned his head and looked at the method of refining treasures again. After the matter is done, there will be a big thank you. In order to make sure that the double-faced fox demon would indeed do what he said, Luo Tang threw out another lure. If he can open a ground pickup station in the white snake world, no matter how much he does, it will be worth it. The value of a world cannot be measured by a few artifacts. Ding, tourist Baoking Fangzhu has returned to the original world. After the owner of Baoqingfang finished his travel and left, the system prompt sounded on time. A smile appeared on Luo Tang's face, and he looked at the tourists received interface first. Oramat, favorability, 75, 0, favorability, 85. Master Baoqingfang, favorability, 66, to be honest, this is the worst group of tourists I have ever brought. Luo Tang sighed slightly when he saw the favorability of the 3 of them. Although this time, because he was in a hurry to upgrade the system, he didn't care much about the 3 of them. But he thought to himself that while fulfilling the purpose of the trip for the 3 of them, he also worked hard to increase the degree of affection. But no one has reached the standard to become an employee, which is too bad. Be normal, what I want is a quick upgrade. Luo Tang patted his regretful mouth, trying to comfort himself in his heart. In just one day, 3 B-level tourists were sent away. At this speed, even if the favorability score fails, it has already made a lot of money. Besides, with the 3 of them, he has left behind some supporters, and I believe that sooner or later the ground pickup station will be opened. Ding. The accumulation of experience points has exceeded 100%, Wanji Travel Agency has upgraded, the upper limit of tourists has been raised to a level, and the upper limit of tourists that can be received remains unchanged. Ding. LV4 Wanji Travel Agency System. Open the Employee Communication Channel, function. Open the Tourist Communication Channel, function. Open the Employee Salary, function. Ding. LV4 Wanji Travel Agency System, tourist list. Refresh rule changes. Please pay attention to the host to check. Luo Tang was stunned by 3 prompts in succession. Looking carefully at every system prompt, his eyes couldn't help but be filled with obvious joy. After LV4, the change of being able to receive A-level tourists was already in his expectation. However, the upper limit of the number of people that can be received has not changed, which made him a little surprised, but he didn't take it to heart. After all, the 3 tourists already made him feel somewhat in a hurry. One more, he might not be able to handle it. As for the remaining functions, in his opinion, they are really powerful, far exceeding his expectations. Employee Communication Channel. A dedicated communication channel for the host's employees, which can communicate across 10,000 realms without barriers. Tourist Communication Channel. The Tourist Communication Channel of Wanji Travel Agency, with a favorability of 50 and above, can be invited by the host to join, and communicate across Wanji without barriers. Employee Salary. The employees of the host who complete the reception of 20 tourists per month can get a basic salary of 10,000 mall points, more work, more pay, and those who have not completed will only be paid a commission for the tourists they have received. 3 functions, each of which will have a great impact. The first function directly allows employees who are unable to communicate when they return to their respective worlds to have communication guarantees. No matter who has something happening around them, they can know it at the first time. And when Luo Tang has something to look for them, he doesn't have to go to the other party's world in person like before. The second function is to give ordinary tourists a platform for communication. After the original tourists returned to their respective worlds, Luo Tang lost the opportunity to continue to increase his favorability. But now with this communication channel, he is confident that every tourist can be fooled by him. The difference is nothing more than the length of time. As for the third function, employee salary, can be said to be a way to stimulate employees to receive and attract tourists. 10,000 mall points are enough for a probability breakthrough. And like some weaker abilities, even an absolute upgrade is not enough to be worth points. Just like Yaya. Luo Tang remembered that the other party said last time that she needs about 8 or 9,000 points to break through the demon power. This kind of improvement, no matter how strong people are, can't refuse. In the next period of time, everyone in the travel agency will inevitably enter the stage of frantically attracting tourists. The 3 functions make travel agencies more and more standardized. The travel agency, which was originally supported by Luo Tang alone, seems to be slowly getting on the right track with this upgrade. In other words, I still have some points that are useless. Luo Tang looked at the system mall interface, saw the 5,300 points, couldn't help scratching his chin with one hand. For him, the president, only 1,000 points are needed to increase the probability, which is only 1/10 of the consumption of employees. But with his strength and the intensity of various abilities, the probability of a breakthrough is simply shockingly low. And in the absolute upgrade, one upgrade of the heaven system requires 100,000 points. Too bad. If you want to fill money, it will take a lot of time. Well, next, my points will probably increase crazily. Luo Tang muttered, then looked at the last change. Visitor list. Refresh rule. Originally B, C, and D level tourists. Every time, each level immediately refreshes 15 people. This time, it changed to A, B, C, D, 4 level tourists, and 3 to 20 tourists were refreshed every month. In other words, if you are lucky enough to blow the watch, Luo Tang can even refresh 20 A-level tourists at a time. And when the luck declines to the extreme, it is very likely that there are only 3 D ranks. This kind of refreshing is because of the face. My face shouldn't be dark. Luo Tang touched his cheek with one hand and muttered to himself. To be able to travel to this world and obtain the Myriad Worlds travel agency system, he is absolutely lucky. His requirements are not high, not to mention 20 A levels at a time, but 7 or 8, he is satisfied. Luo Tang was studying when the system of Wanji travel agency changed. Employee communication channel has exploded. Today, Luo Tang's Wanji travel agency has recruited 12 employees. They don't have a complicated tourist list, just a simple mall. Even those who have never established a ground station do not even have a shopping mall. Employee communication channel, naturally, they discovered it as soon as it appeared. Hexi, Keisha, Ryobing, Rin Tosaka, Artoria, Fubuki of Hell, Denisa, Yaya, Little Doctor, Madoka Camus, Dumbledore, Albedo, 12 crazy send a message. Liang Bing. Damn. This scared my old lady. What is this communication channel, secret communication? Hexi. King Apocalypse, it is written on the bulletin board in the upper right corner of the communication channel. To Shan Yaya. Sister Hexi, I miss you so much. Hexi. I miss Xiao Yaya too. To Saka Rin. The communication channel provided to the employees of Wanji, the president has created something amazing again. Fubuki from Hell. Who are you? Crane. A very familiar name. Denisa. What is this? Why did it suddenly appear in my mind? Hexi. Angel, one of the 3 kings, Tianji King. Albedo. Being able to talk to the Supreme Venerable at any time, I feel so happy that I am about to faint. Camu Madoka. Big, hello everyone, I'm Kamo Madoka, from the world of magical girls. Rin Tasaka. Good afternoon, Madoka, have you noticed the employee salary issue? Albedo. Salary? What salary? Liang Bing. It's the salary hanging next to System Mall. Shit. Only 20 people can earn 10,000 points in a month. To Shan Yaya. Sister Lingbing, that's the basic salary. If you receive 1 person, you still have a lot of points. Let me figure out how much I can earn. She. Ya, don't forget it, don't embarrass yourself. Albedo. I don't seem to have what you said. To Shan Yaya. Sister Albedo, I heard from the big brother that some functions will only be activated after the ground station is established. Fubuki of hell. A ground station? You have already established it? Damn it. Luo Tang saw the noisy crowd in the employee communication channel, with a smile in his eyes. With just a few words, everyone has accepted the existence of the communication channel, and even started to delve into employee salary. The smart Hexie has already discussed with the people who have opened the ground pickup station, whether to exchange some tourists so that they can earn some points. Albedo, who hadn't opened the ground pickup station, was full of resentment, and Fubuki from hell wanted to cry. Luo Tang watched the screen silently, and did not rush to speak. Among the 12 employees, at present, 4 of them have never participated in the communication. Keisha, who has always been very proud, Arturia, who is calm and steady, and the little doctor, who is quick-witted. And among the 12 employees, Dumbledore is the only gay man. Although several people did not participate in the conversation, Luo Tang estimated that it should be due to their personality. After all, the 3 of them should not be in too much danger in their respective worlds. Moreover, it is impossible for normal people not to notice this kind of thing that pops up in the mind suddenly. Keisha. I vaguely found a problem. Everyone here, please report the gender. When Luo Tang was watching the screen, Keisha, who had never spoken, said something abruptly, and everyone responded one after another. Hexie. Female. Liang Bing. Female. Tushan Yaya. Female. Kamu Madoka. Female. Tasaka Rin. Female. Keisha. There are also Little Dr. Fairy and Dumbledore who have not spoken. Who knows their gender? Tushan Yaya. I know, Sister Keisha. Sister Dr. Fairy is a woman. Dumbledore is a man. Keisha. Man? Mr. Dumbledore, can you answer your X orientation? Dumbledore. Do you have to answer? Keisha. No, I already know. Now, I think you all understand what I found. Keisha. This comm channel, obviously someone. Kesha has been muted for 1 minute. A red reminder flashed across the employee communication channel. Keisha spoke half of the sentence and was interrupted directly under the system authority. Everyone is silent, and if they disagree with each other, they will be silenced, authority dogs and so on. It's too scary. Ahem, everyone, let me clarify that the employee communication channel is only used by employees for internal communication, and the first condition to become an employee is that the favorability score exceeds 90 points and I do have many male friends who have a good relationship, but their favorability, most of them are slightly worse. Luo Tang explained with a face full of pain, no explanation. A good communication channel for employees, and if Keisha continues to talk, I'm afraid it will be described as some kind of chaotic aid and dating channel. If there are only lesbians in the communication channel, that's all. At most he pretended to be deaf and dumb, maybe he was having fun behind his back. But there's another Dumbledore. He is an old man who is over 100 years old, can we not mess around? Even if Dumbledore can bear it, he can't bear it either. Under Luo Tang's strong suppression, there was a brief silence on the employee communication channel. After a while, Kamu Madoka was the first to break the silence. Kame Madoka. Because the president helped me save my friends and my world, so, in fact, I have always regarded the president as the closest and most trustworthy elder. Tushan Yaya. That's right, Big Brother is the best. Tasaka Rin. Only I care, has Sister Keisha's affection for the president exceeded 90 points? Albedo. Isn't it natural for the King of Angels to fall in love with the Supreme Venerable? Hexie. Now we are trying our best to appease Queen Keisha. Everyone please don't provoke her anymore. Fubuki from hell. Comfort. What is she going to do? Tushan Yaya. Probably I want to take the angel army and rush directly to the 29th place of the Big Brother. Fubuki of hell. Army of angels? Are they strong? Albedo. It's easy to wipe out the civilizations of several planets. Fubuki of hell. Excuse me. Tushan Yaya. By the way, Sister Lingbing, when will you bring someone over? My sister is already gathering all the monsters in Tushan. Liang Bing. Almost forgot the business. Wait a minute, my queen will call a few hundred people first. Luo Tang looked at the employee communication channel that had been restored to order, and nodded in satisfaction. All of his employees have a favorable rating above 90. As long as there is no unstable factor like Kesha, the environment is really surprisingly harmonious. When will Keisha's negative favorability be resolved? Luo Tang glanced at the favorability on the tourists received interface and muttered in his heart. Keisha, favorability. Minus 30/97. The existence of negative favorability makes Keisha's emotional state quite unstable. Although in the face of big right and wrong, the favorability of 97 allows her to fight for Luo Tang with all her strength. But from time to time, she would feel upset for a while. It's too much to say that the hatred is deep like the sea, but to add a little trouble to Luo Tang, she is definitely very happy. Luo Tang shook his head, kept this matter in his heart, and turned his head to look at the tourist communication channel factory. There is no communication with the staff, and the communication with the tourists needs to be invited by him. And with a favorability level above 50 points, each of the tourists he received has reached it. You know, even flying squirrels. After Albedo's return, the favorability has now stabilized at 65 points. Ignir, Flying Squirrel, Sun Gohan, Bumblebee, Master Void, Orumite, Zero, Baokingbozu. Luo Tang sent invitations to join one by one. Ignir, favorability, 75, Flying Squirrel, favorability 65. Sun Wufan, favorability degree 89, Bumblebee, favorability, 77. Young Master Void, favorability, 81, Orumite, favorability, 75. 0, favorability, 85, Master Baoqingfang, favorability, 70. The favorability of everyone varies from high to low, and the one closest to the establishment of the ground pickup station is naturally Sun Wuhan's favorability. 89 favorability points, the distance to 90 is only a thin line away. Except for Sun Wuhan, Zero and Young Master Void have all reached over 80. With a little more effort, maybe you can quickly reach 90 points. In just a moment, all 8 people passed the invitation and joined the tourist communication channel. Unlike previous employee newsletters, the tourist communication channel is not as harmonious as that one. After all, everyone is considered strong in their respective worlds, and they have never seen each other before. Mr. Kong Kong. I am Mr. Kong Kong, the exorcist, and I have met fellow Taoists. Master Baoqingfang, exorcist. An exorcist who slays demons? Mr. Kong Kong. Yes, may I ask the master, where are you from? Master Baoqingfang. It seems that you and the slave family are in a natural hostile relationship. The slave family is a fox demon. Ignir. Fox? I am Ignir, the fire dragon king. I have eaten a lot of foxes, they are small, the meat is astringent, and I have to pick my teeth after eating. Flying squirrel. I am the skeleton magician, the decedent magician, and the ruler of death. I have also killed several dragons. The defense of the dragon scale armor is very strong. Bumblebee. I am Bumblebee, Cybertron's intelligence officer. Olumite. No need to argue because I'm here. Sorry, I'm leaving, it doesn't look like I'm needed here. Zero. They're all weird people. Sun Wuhan, Luo Tang uncle, where are you? On the tourist communication channel, a group of people who didn't know each other became a mess. As an exorcist, Mr. Kong Kong and the double-faced fox monster Baoking Fangzhu directly clashed. Ignir fanned the flames, arousing Momonga's dissatisfaction. Bumblebee introduced himself without understanding the atmosphere. Zero and Sun Wuhan and Olumite became onlookers, looking to watch the development of the situation quietly. Silence. 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 Luo Tang silenced all 4 of Ignir, Flying Squirrel, Kong Kong Gongzi and Baoking Fangzhu in one breath. Looking at the calm tourist communication channel, he sighed slightly. Ideal is full, the reality is very skinny. In such a chaotic situation, I want to increase the favorability of a certain person. I'm afraid it's not as simple as he thought. Luo Tang was silenced 4 times, and the tourist chat channel immediately quieted down. The rest of Sun Wuhan, Olumite, 0 and 3 onlookers, plus a chattering hornet also immediately fell silent. Luo Tang paused and organized his language before speaking on the tourist communication channel. The people and intelligent creatures in the tourist communication channel all come from different worlds, and the values and common sense of different worlds are different. In some worlds, monsters can live in peace with people, and in other worlds, people are evil people. Don't impulsively think that all the worlds are the same as your own world. Think about how much benefit you can gain from communicating with people from different worlds. Even a piece of cultivation practice or a super forbidden spell can benefit you a lot. Chat channel. I will send benefits once a month, civilized communication. The number of bans exceeds 3 times. Cancel this month's benefits, ban for 3 consecutive months, and kick out of the chat channel. Luo Tang posted a lot of words. Directly set the rules for the chat channel. The tourist chat channel of the travel agency is to solicit business for him and expand the coverage of the travel agency's ground pickup station. Not for quarreling with them. If you don't follow his rules, you won't be able to bring him benefits, and you may even become a black sheep. Why keep this kind of person? What he owns is the Wanji travel agency system, not the Wanji chat guild system. Originally, as the party with the initiative, he has the right to decide whose business to do and whose business to not do. There is really no need to confess everyone, on the contrary, they should confess him. 0. The president's rules, we will obey. Sun Wuhan. I will listen to Luo Tang uncle's words. Olamet. Every place has its own rules, if there are no rules, it will only breed chaos. Looking at the three people who responded positively, Luo Tang smiled together and lifted the others' bands. For the first time to silence, just give a warning and show your authority. If the silence is too long, God knows if it will scare them into silence, which is not conducive to the development of travel agencies. The four people who had just lifted the ban paused for a moment, and then began to ask questions enthusiastically, as if the ban had never happened at all just now. For them, it's a small thing to lose face if they are silenced. If they are kicked out, their intestines will be ruined. They all know how capable Luo Tang is. Not to mention what benefits others can bring to them, what Luo Tang alone can give them is already. Flying squirrel. As a partner in the same guild, it is natural to maintain the order of the guild. Today's incident, in the name of Anzi Ergen, I guarantee that it will never happen again. Ignir. President Luo Tang has set the rules, and this king will naturally abide by them, and I only hope that everyone will abide by them too. Mr. Kong Kong. Thanks to the president's reinvention grace, Shaoshang should obey the order and know the etiquette. Owner of Baoking Fang. The president's words, I should keep in mind, but I don't know. What is the welfare that the president said? The four expressed their opinions one after another. And when the owner of Baoqingfang asked the question, the communication channel became surprisingly quiet. Obviously, everyone has a great interest in welfare. It may be powerful treasures, exercises, potions, or it may be all kinds of magic, something that prolongs life. What exactly will be released will be discussed at the end of the month. Luo Tang drew a big cake for everyone without paying attention. Anyway, the final interpretation is in his hands, and what to do is entirely up to him. If a month goes by, this person knows the interest, and can provide him with some help and the like. Just let Nidawee's dwarf build a few weapons and throw them on. If it doesn't work, just throw 2 magic spells at will. Young Master Kong Kong. President, when I went to the travel agency that day, I saw 2 extremely powerful women. Did they do something wrong? But I have never seen them today. Ignul. So I haven't seen Fubuki either. Bumblebee, Albedo. Luo Tang. They met some specific conditions, so they were promoted to travel agency employees. Bumblebee. What? Staff. Owner of Baoqingfang. The treatment of the employees should be much better than that of the slave family and others. The double-faced fox demon was originally a 1,000-year-old demon, and its intelligence and reaction speed far surpassed that of ordinary people. With just 2 sentences, you can see through many things that others cannot see through. A smile appeared on Luo Tang's face. He was still thinking about how to stimulate everyone to move forward. Unexpectedly, the opportunity was presented directly in front of him. To attract tourists and expand the scope of influence of the travel agency, as long as you make a certain contribution to the travel agency, when the favorability exceeds 90, you can be promoted to an employee and get the opportunity to create a local reception station. After the establishment of the ground station, as long as the employees complete a certain amount of work every month, they will have unlimited opportunities to improve their strength, and they can also share all skills, magic, technology, and cultivation materials, and they will be protected by the travel agency. A smile appeared on Luo Tang's face, and he said all the things that he could basically enjoy at once. Young Master Kong Kong. If I become an employee, set up a ground pickup station, and the unrivaled Demon King strikes, will the travel agency also provide assistance services? Luo Tang. Come together with the 4 monkeys, there will be people who will help you out. Mr. Void. Suddenly, I feel no more emptiness. Friends, I will talk back, and I will go to promote Wanji Travel Agency first. Master Baoking. The servants have also gone. Bumblebee. The leader doesn't know if he is interested in the travel agency. Alumite. Hero Academy, it's time to add a course. Everyone, see you next time. Mr. Kong Kong, Baoqingfangzu, Alumite, and Bumblebee left the chat channel directly. Luo Tang can guess that from today onwards, the 4 of them will inevitably become propaganda madmen. After all, the difference between tourists and employees is really too big. If they can get close to Wanji Travel Agency, what purpose do they want to accomplish? Taking the power of 10,000 realms and standing at the top of one realm is not a goal at all. Momanga. Luo, Albedo seems to be building a ground station, and the materials seem to mention those people. Luo Tang. Every ground pickup station needs 2 requirements, location and material. These 2 things must be very involved. Momanga. I understand. Son Gohan. Luo Tang uncle, does my dad have a chance to be an employee of a travel agency? Luo Tang. Definitely, but you have to get your father interested in this place first. Sun Wuhan. This is very simple, I told Dad. There are super strong people here, he will definitely think about it every day. Flying squirrel. Sun Wuhan's tone reminds me of betraying my father for glory. In the tourist chat channel, except for Zero, basically everyone took action. He regards eating as a major event in his life, and even wrote a magic book for Zero. The desire in his heart is pitiful. A magic puppet that can cook already made her very happy. Faced with this situation, Luo Tang does not have too many calendars. Perhaps at some point, he will recruit characters like Lu Angxing, Xingping Chuangjun, and Nakiri Arena as employees. In order to attract Zero's attention, Luo Tang breathed a sigh of relief after getting rid of everyone in the tourist chat channel. There are too many changes in the travel agency today, and he feels a little dizzy. However, it's almost done now. It seems that I still have 5 chances to copy. Luo Tang sat on the sofa and muttered. Lingbing, Xiao Yishen, Olumide, Baoqing Fangzhu, Ling. He still hasn't used the opportunity to choose from them. System. Copy Olumite's One for All. Store it in the system warehouse. Copy Baoqing Fangzhu's treasure refining technique. Copy the magic of Nong. Luo Tang didn't have any hesitation, and directly chose the strongest place among them. Ding. One for All fire has been stored in the system warehouse. Ding. Baoqing Fang's treasure refining technique has been copied successfully. Ding. Zero's magic copy was successful. 3 notification sounds came, and Luo Tang immediately ordered the Heavens system to enter the knowledge into the database. As for One for All, Luo Tang is not ready to use this kind of thing. Just let the system of the heavens start to analyze One for All and absorb its essence. He can't chew too much, his current body has not been developed to the extreme, and if he absorbs One for All, he might be distracted. The tourist list has been refreshed. Luo Tang muttered, and looked at the visitor list on the system interface. Tourist list Yakumo Purple from the world of Eastern Gensokyo, Yokai Sage. Purpose of the trip. Looking for treasures of stable fantasy homesickness, A-level tourists. Kusuo Seiki from the disaster world of Seiki Kusuo, born with super abilities. Purpose of travel. Find a way to make yourself ordinary, A-level tourists. Orochimaru from the world of Naruto, one of the 3 ninjas, S-class rebellious ninja. Purpose of travel. To explore the secret of eternal life, C-level tourists. Yurha 2B from the world of Nier Automata, number 2 executioner E-type robot. Purpose of travel. To find real human, level tourists. Black Pupil from the world of the Crimson Pupil, decedent marching Hachifong Tigushi. Purpose of travel. Medical treatment, C-level tourists. System. Nima. I can't bear to spray you with 2A levels. Where's the B level? Where's my B level tourist? The moment Luo Tang saw the list of tourists, he immediately lost his composure. Although it is said that 3 to 20 tourists are basically randomly assigned. Even because of the scarcity of high-level tourists, the refresh rate is much lower than that of low-level tourists. But now there are 2 A-level tourists, but not even a B-level tourist. Jumping directly to C all at once, this span is too scary. System. Did you change the visitor refresh rule just to mess with me? Luo Tang gritted his teeth and said. Host, Wanji Travel Agency is bound to serve the host, and there is absolutely no change that is harmful to the host. Luo Tang's face was so painful that he didn't want to speak. In line with the idea that he had been promoted to a higher level, from B to A, he took a few deep breaths to suppress his unhappiness. Tourists such as Zima and Seiki Kusuo must take orders. Although the purpose of Zima's trip seems not so easy to accomplish, but this is a real A-level boss. Seiki Kusuo can also pick it up, his perverted super ability, no one can refuse. How to choose the remaining C-level tourists. Orochimaru, Yurha 2B, and Haitong are all C-level tourists. Their travel purpose can be said to be very simple to achieve. Forget it. Let's get tired, and continue one after another. Luo Tang muttered, and took the travel orders from Zima, Seiki Kusuo, and Orochimaru. There were ripples on the gate of the travel agency. A burst of ethereal and melodious singing came from the front door of the travel agency. Luo Tang raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? A-level bosses come on stage, do they all bring their own B.G.M? Z Yakumo stepped into the travel agency with elegant steps, holding a big umbrella, and singing with ethereal and melodious voice. The singing in the ripples stopped abruptly, and Yakumo shook his head. Looking at Luo Tang who was sitting on the sofa, the corners of her mouth curled into a smile of interest. A travel agency that connects all worlds, a place where Shikigami can't go, it's really interesting. Welcome, Yakumo Z. Luo Tang said something, his eyes flickered slightly, but he noticed the details in Yakumo Z's words. Yakumo Z has never liked to go out. As a super homegirl, this guy obviously wanted Shikigami Yakumo Land to go for him just now. But obviously, the system of Wanji Travel Agency rejected her show operation. The ripples in the gate of the travel agency became violent again. Seiki Kusuo, who has pink hair and wears a limiter, also came out at the moment. Looking at Yakumo Z standing in front of him, he silently turned sideways and stood to the other side. Are you the president? This place can help me become ordinary. The expression on Seiki Kusuo's face did not fluctuate at all. Gently pushing his green glasses, a flash of light flashed on the lenses, covering his eyes. It shouldn't be a problem, but I don't know how ordinary you have to be. Luo Tang shrugged. If a person wants to become outstanding, there may be many difficulties. But it is too simple to become ordinary, and there are no fewer ways to do it. Are there still tourists like me? It's really annoying. Yakumo Z squinted at Seiki Kusuo. I'm so sorry. Seiki Kusuo has always had a good temper, and he was not affected by Zima's tone at all. The gate of the travel agency rippled again. Orochimaru, with eyes like snake pupils and a wicked smile on the corner of his mouth, also came out from the gate of the travel agency. The two little ghosts, if they get in the way, they will be killed. The purple oil paint on the face showed a bit of evil. Orochimaru's neck stretched instantly, and his head appeared between Seiki Kusuo and Yakumo Z. Looking at the two people whose faces were still somewhat green, their golden vertical pupils were full of cruel expressions. Pervert. Seiki Kusuo turned his head slightly, as if he was too lazy to talk to Orochimaru. He got up and walked aside. Ah la la, I'm even more upset. President, can I teach him some lessons? Yakumo Z covered her small mouth gracefully with the back of her hand, and asked Luo Tang a question. It's up to you. Don't play to death. Luo Tang scratched the tip of his nose with one hand, turned decisively and walked towards the sofa. Ant Snake. You should also pay attention to the occasion when you speak, okay? The two in front of you are genuine A-rank bosses. You are AC level, is it really okay to be so crazy? Yakumo Z heard Luo Tang's words, with a gentle smile in her eyes. Meanwhile, Seiki Kusuo frowned slightly. Chimu, do you want some dessert? My dessert here is pretty good. Luo Tang said something to Chimu Kusuo, and with a wave of his hand, a virtual projected menu appeared in front of him. If you can, get me a coffee jelly, please. Seiki Kusuo resolutely left the scene of the crime, walked to one side of the sofa and sat down on the sofa. No trouble, there are many kinds of desserts, you can choose more. When Luo Tang picked up the virtual projection menu with his fingertips, he flew in front of Seiki Kusuo. Grateful. Looking at the exquisite dessert patterns on the menu, Seiki Kusuo resolutely changed his original request of only one coffee jelly. Naturally, the more desserts, the better. Z Yakumo smiled even more when she saw the two people who walked away voluntarily. In Wanji Travel Agency, she couldn't see Luo Tang as the president, and Seiki Kusuo also gave her an extremely dangerous feeling of terror. As for the guy behind him, weak, dirty, and even the soul is emitting a disgusting stench. How dare such a monster who is neither human nor demon dare to provoke her? Is it true that Yakumo Z is a gentle, kind, courteous, kind-hearted man who doesn't know what it means to lose his temper? Orochimaru looked at Luo Tang and Seiki Kusuo, who left calmly with dark eyes. He is a smart person, and he already has a bad premonition in his heart. Ka. Just when she was about to retreat, Yakumo Z covered his small mouth with her jade hands, and directly pinched his neck that had grown longer. A strange force passed into his body. The neck that had been lengthened by ninjutsu quickly returned to its original shape, and his body was also pulled in front of Z Yakumo. Girl-necked basilisk, sometimes, it is a kind of luck to be able to die. Yakumo Z's voice was still gentle, but those words made Orochimaru shudder. His neck was tightly strangled, and he subconsciously wanted to use ninjutsu. But the chakra in the body is completely disobedient, as if it was directly sealed. Boom. Yakumo Z pinched Orochimaru's neck and threw it hard to the ground. You with an incomplete soul, what are you using to resist my power? A seemingly whispering, mocking words reached Da Shiwan's ears. Blood overflowed from the corner of Da Shiwan's mouth, and his pupils trembled, but he didn't expect that the other party would see through the details. As one of the founders of Gensokyo, Yakumo Z's strength is beyond doubt. Even in terms of strength, she is actually not very good at it, but it is enough to hang Da Shiwan. Most ninjas' physical strength is not very strong. Orochimaru is originally a ninjutsu ninja even after some physical transformation. With chakra completely sealed, he couldn't even launch a decent counterattack. Bang, 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 the sound of continuous vibrations came. Orochimaru was thrown like a ragbag, and I don't know how many bones were broken during it. Between tourists and tourists, there is no saying that they cannot hurt each other. The poor 960 is not much. Luo Tang said quietly. He really killed the tourists. He wants to deduct experience points. Moreover, there are still many things he wants in Dashawan. Since the president has spoken, let's let this annoying guy go for now. Z Yakumo raised her chin slightly, walked lightly, and walked to the sofa on the other side to sit down. Just now when she was beating up Orochimaru crazily, she had already discovered the magic of the travel agency. Indestructible. Indestructible. No matter how powerful she used, even if she secretly used the original demon power. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, who would believe that she couldn't even break a floor? Just now, I was really rude. There was a gentle smile on Yakumo Z's face. When the big ocean umbrella rotated, it gave her a bit of girlish agility. It looks like a completely different person from the violent bad guy just now. Boom boom boom, there was a knock on the door. Luo Tang, who had just sat down, got up and took the dessert from the Stark Group employees outside the door. Should we set up a permanent secret technique space gate? Every time I order like this, it's troublesome. Luo Tang muttered something in his heart, and with a wave of one hand, all the desserts flew to the coffee table. 10 kinds of exquisitely shaped desserts exuding fragrance attracted the eyes of Seiki Kusuo and Yakumo Z. Raise your hand and make a pot of lapsang souchong. Luo Tang raised his hand to invite them. Please. Thank you very much for your hospitality. Seiki Kusuo said something expressionless, and in the blink of an eye, the coffee jelly had already arrived in his hand. Black tea and desserts, the president really knows how to enjoy them. Yakumo Z poured a cup of black tea, smelling the quiet tea fragrance, took a small sip. Orochimaru, who was half dead on the ground, finally recovered from the feeling of dying. Feeling that the seal on his body had been released, he tried his best to raise his hand and formed a few handprints. The original face was quickly torn apart. With the mucus in the body of the snake, he crawled out from the mouth of Own. Orochimaru's substitution technique. I rely on. Looking at the scene in front of him, Luo Tang couldn't help but twitch his cheeks. When he saw this from anime in his previous life, he didn't feel anything. But seeing it now, it makes people want to throw up the overnight meal. I apologize for my recklessness just now. Orochimaru saw Yakumo Z's gaze, and his body tightened slightly, with an friendly smile on his face. Uncle Snake who can bend and stretch. Orochimaru has never been the kind of person who pays attention to indifferent integrity. Facing someone who is stronger than oneself, forbearance is a necessary talent for a ninja until he is not sure that he can kill him. Cut. It doesn't matter. Yakumo Z waved her hand, concentrating on the black tea in front of her, as if she was not affected by what happened just now. Luo Tang glanced at Seiki Kusuo who was also staring at the coffee jelly without even looking at Orochimaru, and couldn't help but frown. Could it be that he was the only one who felt that the scene just now was a bit disgusting? President, my pursuit can be achieved here, right? Orochimaru looked at Luo Tang. After subduing his former madness and evil, now he looks extremely charismatic. Every move has a feeling that makes people want to be close. Eternal life is not difficult. Luo Tang scratched his cheek and said something casually. Immortality may be a difficult thing to achieve for people in Naruto world. But in many worlds, as long as the strength reaches a certain level, the lifespan will be infinitely long and close to eternity. For example, the world of the Fox Fairy Little Matchmaker, the world of the White Snake, the world of Fighting Breaks, and the world of Super Gods. The lifespan of a super soldier is outrageously long. Starting from the genetic level is far less difficult than slowly cultivating and sublimating oneself. Luo Tang only wants to improve the genes of Sha Dashawan's body, so that it can be infinitely close to immortality. Isn't it difficult? Orochimaru's pupils trembled violently, subconsciously glanced at Z Yakumo and Kusuo Seiki who were unmoved. Yakumo Z will always be 17 years old, this is not just a joke. Zima's age was beyond the imagination of most people. And Seiki Kusuo has countless super abilities. As long as he is willing, it is not difficult to make his body approach to eternity, immortality and immortality. So, what price are you going to pay, Orochimaru-kun? Luo Tang leaned on the sofa. For a person like Orochimaru, he was not prepared to have a high degree of favorability from the beginning. Want to win the trust of Uncle Snake in a short time? I'm afraid I'm dreaming? Uchiha Sasuke was refreshed in Luo Tang's tourist list before. And the strength of the second pillar has reached the level of Jonin. Calculating from the dark timeline, Arzuzi should not have left Orochimaru. Orochimaru at this point in time, the pursuit of immortality has reached the stage of madness, paranoid and twisted to the extreme. Before what happened with Big Shadoo, do you want to have a good relationship with Uncle Snake? Hee. What price can I pay? Orochimaru muttered to himself, the madness in his eyes was undisguised. Yakumo Z cast a sideways glance at Orochimaru, and lowered her head to sip her own black tea. For her, a lunatic who pursues eternal life is far less comfortable than a cup of fragrant hot tea. Seiki Kusuo ate the coffee jelly spoonful after spoonful. He naturally doesn't care about things that Yun Z doesn't care about. In comparison, the coffee jelly here is all top-notch delicious, made from top-quality ingredients. Is this okay? Orochimaru opened his mouth wide, and took out a psychic scroll from his mouth. Luo Tang rolled his eyes. Hi Nima. This kind of psychic scroll is only useful in the Naruto world, okay? After the space gate was closed, the Marvel world and the Naruto world lost contact. Want to summon a psychic beast in the Marvel universe? Unless you drink 2 caddies of fake wine, it seems that its value is pitifully low. Orochimaru lowered his head and chuckled, even though he was beaten up just now, but at the moment he still maintained a calm demeanor. Take out a scroll of seal from bosom. He opened the scroll, unsealed it, and pressed one hand on the scroll. Ninjutsu spread crazily on the ground, forming a jutsu that is more than 4 meters long. Amidst the rising smoke, a large pile of materials and books appeared in the hall. These are the materials I have been studying various ninjutsu. What's their value? Orochimaru looked up at Luo Tang. For him, these ninjutsu research materials are just for further research on immortality. As long as you can live forever, it doesn't matter at all. Not enough. Is eternal life so cheap in your opinion? Luo Tang folded his hands in remorse, leaned on the sofa, and said something lightly. Orochimaru squinted his eyes, made seals with his hands, a strange chakra wave flashed, and spit out a long sword from his mouth. Pheasant sword. Not enough. Luo Tang grinned. To be honest, he really can't accept this kind of scene where everything comes out of his mouth. Orochimaru was silent for a moment, and spit out 2 scrolls from his mouth again. On one scroll, there are 2 large characters of Forbidden Technique, and on the other, Blood Succession Boundary. The scroll of Forbidden Techniques contains all the forbidden techniques I know, such as reincarnation of undead reincarnation, reincarnation of unholy ghosts, extinction of ghouls, Rashomon. The scroll of Blood Successor Boundary contains more than a dozen corpses of blood successors who limit thinking. Orochimaru put the 2 scrolls on the coffee table. Yakumo Z didn't lift her eyelids, but Seiki Kusuo paused slightly. Saying the word corpse so lightly, there is no need to say more about the image of Orochimaru in his mind. Forget it, I'll treat it as a discount for you. Luo Tang raised his eyebrows and finally answered. Based on his understanding of Orochimaru, this guy has already taken out all his old books. It is difficult to extract other valuable things. Can you start it? When Dashawan heard Luo Tang's words, the corner of his mouth twitched, his eyes full of excitement and anticipation. Anytime. Luo Tang stood up from the sofa, his eyes were covered with white light. Start the engine of the heavens, analyze the target gene, and rewrite the target gene. The engine of the heavens starts and analyzes the target gene. The target is a genetically modified humanoid and animal body. An unknown gene has been detected. This gene has strong resilience and compatibility. After analyzing, start rewriting. Orochimaru's body began to float up slowly under the action of the engines of the heavens. Intense pain began to invade every corner of his body crazily. Feeling the fullness and strength of the cells, Orochimaru had a ferocious excited smile on his face. Even though the pain made his soul tremble, it still couldn't conceal the joy of his wish coming true. Yang lives. This is the eternal life he has been pursuing. For half a minute, Luo Tang directly transformed the gene of Orochimaru into a super soldier gene. Its original genes are all sealed in its body. If the 2 genes are slowly integrated in the future, what kind of changes will happen? Even he is unpredictable. Ding. Tourist Orochimaru. The purpose of the trip is achieved. You can return to the original world at any time, or wait for the expiration of 1 month to return to the original world. Ding. Complete the tourist reception. The host can choose any ability, bloodline, and item from Orochimaru. After the engines of the heavens completed the genetic modification of Orochimaru, a system notification sound followed. Under immortality, the aging speed of cells is astonishingly slow. Even the speed at which cells absorb energy from their surroundings can directly counteract this aging process. On the gate of the travel agency, there were waves again. With a weird smile on his face, Orochimaru glanced at Yakumo Z, turned his head and walked towards the gate. Luo-jun, I will come again. The last words of the long-necked basilisk are threatening. President Luo Tang seems to have created an eternal enemy for himself. Yakumo Z was holding the teacup, sipping the tea in the cup lightly, with an expression of great interest on her face. Does he think this is an inn? Come whenever he wants? Luo Tang sat down on the sofa again. Orochimaru's harsh words are a hammer to him. How about immortality? There are a sea of immortality people, and I haven't seen how many of them can turn the sky upside down. And under the system rules, Orochimaru does not pose any threat to him at all. Even if there is no system rule, so what if he is allowed to delve into an ninjutsu of 1,800 years? Orochimaru's improvement speed, can it still catch up with him? It seems that the final decision is still in the hands of the president. Yakumo Z tilted her head, and understood in a flash of thought. Tourists and travel agencies are completely unequal classes, and there is no possibility of confrontation at all. I want to know, when he becomes stronger, will he trouble me or trouble you? Luo Tang hooked the corners of his mouth, and looked at Z-Ma with a smile. What Yakumo Z said just now vaguely meant to encourage him to kill Orochimaru. Although Orochimaru's current power is far inferior to Yakumo Z, no one can ignore the magnanimity and forbearance it shows. Obviously suffered a near-fatal attack and suffered huge amounts of pain. Turning around but being able to continue the original topic like a normal person. This kind of forbearing enemy is the most terrifying. Because they will hide their anger and hatred deep in their hearts and turn them into the driving force for progress. In addition, Orochimaru has a nearly endless lifespan. This paranoid lunatic will definitely grow up at an incredible speed. Terrible man. Seiki Kusuo said with a flat face. Even he had to admit that that man had terrifying potential. It doesn't matter, it's just the difference between a small ant becoming a big one. Yakumo Z waved her hand indifferently. Obviously, he didn't believe that the other party could surpass himself. What I said just now was just that she didn't like trouble and was more willing to nip threats in the bud. Luo Tang looked towards the gradually disappearing space gate, with a bit of expectation in his eyes. Orochimaru is not an ant. As a commoner ninja, he can become a powerful ninja who is famous in the ninja world, but he has qualities that many people don't have. Where is the end of the scientific madman Orochimaru? I'm afraid no one can predict it. I don't know if I can surprise me. Luo Tang muttered in his heart, wishing he could directly add a fast-forward button to Naruto world. In the world of the Super Seminary, the research on the perfect 3 generations of gods has almost come to a standstill. On his side, it is difficult to make a breakthrough in a short period of time. He really wanted to know if Orochimaru could take a completely different path and give him some different inspirations. Glancing at the list of visitors received, he had an expected expression in his eyes. Orochimaru, favorability, 60-60 favorability is already equal to strong hostility. If it was pure, he would let Yakumo Z do it, it would definitely not be to this extent. Orochimaru is not a kind-hearted old man, the other party has definitely taken a fancy to his power. With just a few gestures, people can have the power of eternal life. Mutual benefit, how nice. Luo Tang raised his eyebrows, knocking on the armrest of the sofa with one hand, with a satisfied smile on his face. Tourists do not have to be employees of travel agencies. As long as they can exert their maximum function and effect, they can be used in any way. President, you should have a solution for the purpose of my trip. Z Yakumo turned the umbrella in her hand, with a smile on her face. Can you stop turning the umbrella for now? It's indoors now. Luo Tang grinned, looked at the flying umbrella in Zima's hand, and said helplessly. Girls love beauty, wear a small umbrella or something, and look a little more foreign, which can be understood. But sitting on the sofa with an umbrella, and playing with the umbrella, the scene is too weird. What an ungentlemanly man. Zima complained, and tossed it casually, and the umbrella disappeared into the air. You are the first person to say that. Tell me in detail about the lover you are about to face. Luo Tang shrugged casually. A girl who will always be 17 years old, he can't afford to provoke her, so it's better to get back to the topic. Tourist list. On the prompt, it only says that Zima wants to find the treasure that stabilizes Gensokyo. What's wrong with Gensokyo that needs stabilization? Is it a problem with the barrier? Or the people in it, or a few sages? There are creatures that should not have appeared in Gensokyo. They wantonly destroy the environment. They have no thoughts and cannot communicate. They only have a pure desire to destroy, and they are getting stronger day by day. Yakumo Z told the truth, and when talking about those monsters, there was a bit of displeasure in her eyes. Monster. You can't destroy it. Luo Tang frowned, and probably guessed what Li Ma's so-called monster was referring to. But aren't those creatures from Gensokyo? It can be eliminated, but it will still continue to breed. Luo Tang frowned. He has played barrage games twice. May I ask, in this case, how should I use some monsters? The changes in Gensokyo are actually very normal in Luo Tang's view. No matter which world it is impossible to have only light without darkness. The energy cycle under the world's rules will inevitably produce a side that is completely opposite to what you originally expected. It's like Magical Girl Madoka World. The magical girl destroys the witch, eventually becomes a witch again, and then is destroyed again. In his opinion, what Gensokyo needs to do is not to consider how to completely eliminate these breeding things. It's about how to make these spawned things form an orderly cycle with the original things. The president doesn't have any good ideas. Z Yakumo leaned on the sofa, looked at Luo Tang's frown, and asked a question. Do you know the law of conservation of energy? Luo Tang tapped the armrest of the sofa with one hand, thinking about how to explain this kind of thing. The rules of the world are invisible and intangible most of the time. He also went to many worlds to have this experience. What should he say to make Yakumo Z accept that Gensokyo is full of unclean things? Even regarded as a normal phenomenon. Definitely heard. Then take a look at these world information. Luo Tang closed his eyes, allowing the heavens system to quickly find similar setting information from various worlds. With a wave of one hand, a virtual light curtain appeared in front of Yakumo Z. Seeing Z Ma seriously browse the above content, Luo Tang turned to look at Saimu Kusuo. Is it my turn? Seiki Kusuo held a small plate and ate coffee jelly with a spoon. You want to become ordinary? I have 3 ways, see which one you choose. Tell me. First, change the genes of your body. After the change, in addition to having stronger mental strength, your body is infinitely closer to that of an ordinary person. Luo Tang gathered himself together and said the first way. What about the second? The spoon in Seiki Kusuo's hand paused. Ming was obviously not inclined to the first one. He wants to become ordinary, to be able to understand joy, tension, sadness, anger and other things that ordinary people can feel. Instead of directly becoming an ordinary person. Because he was born with a super ability, he has long been used to the existence of a super ability. After Luo Tang saw Kusuo Seiki's expression, he already knew what he was thinking. After a brief pause, he proposed a second solution. Second, set up a supercontroller for long-term control. The one on your head is too simple, it can only suppress, not control. You mean, as long as the controller is strengthened and can suppress the super ability at any time, I will become ordinary? Seiki Kusuo frowned, always feeling that this statement was a little unreliable. Being able to control them as you like, you can naturally block them all temporarily. Do you think that you are not ordinary enough? Can be considered. What about the third option? Perfect your genes. To put it bluntly, you feel that you are not ordinary because your emotional resonance is not strong enough and you lack a real sense of integration. This can be attributed to multiple reasons such as mental, psychological, and physical. If you regard this as a disease, it is okay. For treatment. Luo Tang leaned on the sofa, quietly waiting for the other party's choice. The third point, there should be flaws, otherwise the president wouldn't have left it at the end to talk about it. Seiki Kusuo finished his dessert in 2 mouthfuls, set the plate down, and asked softly. The disadvantage is that it takes a little longer, and its effect is not achieved overnight, it needs to be manifested slowly. I choose the third option. Can. Luo Tang nodded. In fact, he personally thinks that the third method is the best method, and the only thing that is not friendly is that it takes too long. Even so long that maybe a month's travel time is over without getting it all done. Seiki Kusuo is not without emotion. The reason why he feels that he is not ordinary is to a large extent the follow-up effect of super abilities' occasional rampage. Being under depression for a long time, people will subconsciously close their inner feelings. Under the double pressure of body and spirit, if there is no appearance of Zinmei Teruchao in the original work. This situation will only get worse as time goes on. Both look a bit troublesome. Luo Tang glanced at Zima, who was reading the documents while biting her finger. The expression on the other party's face and the information revealed by body language indicate that the other party cannot accept what is in the information. Even if something is true, I'd better pick up another tourist. Being with these two is not fun at all. Luo Tang muttered something in his heart, and looked at the tourist list. Tourist list Yurha 2B from the world of Nier Automata, number 2 executioner E-type robot. Purpose of travel. To find real human beings, sea-level tourists. Black pupil from the world of the crimson pupil, decedent marching Hachifong Tigushi. Purpose of travel, medical treatment, sea-level tourists. Sao Yanbing from the world of Zhenhun Street, the general of Luocha Street, the successor of the 10 temples of Yama. Purpose of travel, to unlock the seal of sea-level tourists. There are 7 or 8 sea-level tourists on the tourist list. Luo Tang glanced at it, considered the travel purposes of many tourists, and accepted the order from Yurha 2B. The gate of the travel agency rippled again. Seiki Kusuo was staring at the desserts on the table, but turned to the door of the travel agency. Wanji Travel Agency, is it so busy every day? Yakumo Z half leaned on the sofa. Her eyes left the virtual projection, and it was obvious that she was not going to watch it anymore. It depends on your mood. If you are in a good mood, take a few more. If you are in a bad mood, take a rest. Don't you want to continue watching? Luo Tang stood up from the sofa, asked Yakumo Z, and prepared to welcome new guests. Miss 2B. At the beginning, he stayed up late to live through Nier Automata, and even later bought a lot of A2 and 2B posters. By the way, which one is the self-explosion button? B key, it should be. I don't read it, it probably means that I have already understood it. Yakumo Z picked up the teapot on the coffee table and filled a cup of black tea for herself again. It's one thing to understand it, but another to accept it. Luo Tang frowned, not knowing how to answer Yakumo Z's words. After all, this thing still needs to be thought out by the person concerned. He is an outsider, and he is suspected of standing up and talking without back pain. Scoff. Ripples rippling, a blade gleaming with cold light pierced out from the time-space light gate. As if he didn't feel the real thing, the blade was retracted again. After a pause of 2 seconds, he stabbed in again. What was even more extreme than last time was that this time the blade was twisted twice. Luo Tang's cheeks twitched. The 10,000 worlds tourists he received were not just 1 or 2. Before, he thought to himself that he had seen all kinds of ways to enter the door, but he didn't expect that there would be an even better one here. It's also thanks to the fact that the first one he received was the C-ranked Orochimaru. Otherwise, if Yakumo Z and Seiki Kusuo stood at the gate just now, what might happen? Miss 2B may not necessarily be able to hurt the two of them. But if someone poked the two of them, it wouldn't be as if nothing happened. Especially Mama Z. A woman starts to go crazy, but it doesn't matter whether the other party is a woman or not. It seems that the other party doesn't really believe in the existence of Wanji Travel Agency. Holding the teacup, Z-Ma regained her elegant and calm appearance at the beginning, and said something lightly. A prudent person, if ordinary people stand at the gate, they will be killed. Seiki Kusuo also joined in the fun and commented. Maybe it's because the people sitting here are not ordinary people, are even too strong. Compared with the original world, he is obviously a little less restrained. Luo Tang curled his lips, he knew Yakumo Z and Seiki Kusuo both like to complain. But can you stop complaining about everything? It's enough for him to complain alone. The opposite is Miss 2B. Ripples rippled, and a slender jade hand wearing a black tactical glove protruded from the ripples. After finally confirming that there was no problem, Yurha 2B really stepped into the door of the travel agency. In the face of the unknown, be cautious and rash. Even with the purpose of traveling to see real humans, he can still remain calm. As a combat-type intelligent robot, Ms. Yurha 2B was born with human nature in the continuous evolution of intelligence, while retaining the strictness and prudence of a combat-type robot. Hello. Yurha 2B, or rather, 2E. Luo Tang gave a welcome, and looked at Yurha 2B standing in front of him. Silver-white short hair, black tactical goggles cover the eyelids. The black embroidered combat uniform carried an unspeakable sense of wildness and indescribable mystery. The knee-high black high-heeled boots made it a little more sexy. It can be said that Yurha 2B has almost satisfied more than 90% of otaku's fantasies about the other half. I hope Hexy didn't hear what I'm thinking right now. Luo Tang muttered in his heart. Yurha 2B stared at him blankly, and after a long silence, turned his eyes to Yakumozi and Seiki Kusuo. With a small mouth, she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't say it. Any questions? Luo Tang raised his eyebrows and asked proactively. I can't tell if you are human. Yurha 2B's cold and magnetic voice sounded. The heavens system clearly captured her undetectable trembling syllables. At the moments 2B is very nervous. In other words, when hope and despair are intertwined, every mechanical life form under the Jurha plan will be nervous. Look out the window. A smile curled up on the corner of Luo Tang's mouth, and he raised his finger and pointed to the hurried pedestrians outside the French windows. There is never a shortage of crowds on the streets of Manhattan. Especially after the Stark building officially became the base of Avengers, the number of people around has skyrocketed. The people who come and go include the races of the guests. Ur 2B raised the tactical eyepiece, stared blankly at the pedestrians outside the window with clear eyes. Slowly raising one hand and putting it in front of the chest, a voice full of various complex emotions rang out in the travel agency. May the glory of mankind last forever.